Welcome to the Monday Morning Jumpstart. Hi, my name is Rory Peters, and I'm the founder of the Grow Your Business Like You Mean It live event. I'm a speaker, a sales and leadership trainer, and the author of Sell Like You Mean It. This week, I want to talk about the abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. This is an age-old dilemma. Is there enough in the world, or are there finite resources? This is the equivalent of the glass is half empty versus half full. It's not just a positive versus negative attitude, although that intermixes with it. The scarcity mentality says, I believe there are a finite amount of whatever it is that you're thinking about. And that if somebody else gets a good chunk of that, there's less for me. There's not enough to go around. Where the abundance mindset says, if you get a good chunk of this, no problem. I'll always make more. Let me give you an example. Way back at the beginning of my career, a buddy of mine decided he wanted to go out and try this business venture. And he wanted to borrow some money from me. Now, this was a risky venture. He explained it to me, and it was a risky venture. There's no doubt about it. But he really wanted to try this, and he really believed that he could make this work. And he offered me a pretty good financial deal if it did in fact work. But the bottom line was, I'm the one who was going to be funding this. He was the one who was going to be executing. In thinking about whether I was going to give him the money or not, because my first inclination was, this is a lot of money. This is pretty much all I have in my savings. You know, what if he loses it? And then I thought about it. And I thought, this is something he really wants to do. He really seems passionate about this. I've got the money. And what's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is he blows it. I don't get my money back, so I don't have the savings. That doesn't mean I can't pay my bills. I still have a job. I still make a good buck. And I simply believed I can always make more money. If I lose this chunk of money, I can always make more. I have, thank God, an abundance mentality. I don't believe in scarcity. I believe that there's always more than enough to go around. What I really believe in is that the world was built for everybody to succeed. Now, no matter who you believe, if you believe there's a greater power, no matter who it is, I think we can probably agree that this world was designed for everybody to succeed, for everybody to do well. That doesn't mean it happens, but I believe it's designed that way. So if everybody were to succeed, then there'd have to be enough for everybody. That's what I believe. I believe there is enough for everybody. Therefore, I'm not concerned about other people getting a piece of the pie. Because I believe no matter what, I can always make the pie bigger to make sure that I get what I earn. It's always there. In sales, for example, right? In most sales organizations that are retail sales, for example, there's what's called an up system. Everybody gets a turn. We just simply take turns. Rotate through the cycle as customers go through the door. So does it make any sense to be jealous if somebody else gets a sale and you don't? Only if you have a scarcity mentality. Because if you're jealous, that means the scarcity mentality says you believe they got something that now you can't get because they got it. Because they got that sale, there's less available for you. But the fact is, that's not the case. They got their up, they sold the customer, they made some commission, you got your up, you get the same opportunity. Now, whether you're as skilled as they are or not, whether you work as hard as they do or not, is a totally different issue. And that's usually the real crux of it. People develop a scarcity mentality when they don't believe in themselves or they're not willing to do the work to earn the results. So if you don't believe in yourself or you're not willing to do the work, then you believe there's less available and you become jealous of other people who succeed. But if you have an abundance mentality, even though they made a great sale with their customer, you have the ability to do the same thing. If you're willing to work that hard, if you're willing to learn what needs to be learned, do what needs to be done, then you can do the same thing, maybe even better. I'll get my turn. That's not a problem. Give you a second example. I had this great job once, and at the beginning of the job, I'd now been on board about a couple months, and I'd done enough really good stuff that my boss was hearing really good things about me. So at this point, I'm designing a help system, right? And I'm literally writing the help system. And what he wanted to do was 2 or 3 times a week, he would come into my office and we would go over what I've written, and then he would make whatever changes he thought were necessary. Now, at the beginning, I didn't know exactly the purpose of this, and I wasn't sure what he was looking to do, but I realized as time was going on, and this had been going on for like about 3 weeks now, that the changes he were making were not corrections to things I did wrong. They were just things that he thought should be done this way rather than that way. There was nothing wrong with the way I did it, but it wasn't the way he would do it. And so he wanted me to make those changes. Now again, this has been going on for about 3 weeks, and we were losing a couple hours a day whenever we did this. So 2 or 3 times a week, we lost a couple hours each of those days doing this. He lost 2 hours, I lost 2 hours. So finally I realized that this was an absolute waste of time, and that neither one of us are going to benefit from this. And something had to change. So one day I turned to him and I said, you know, if you did this yourself, it'd probably go faster. That took a lot of guts. But I have an abundance mentality, which means I knew that if this job wasn't the right fit for me, if we weren't going to be able to work together, if he was going to micromanage me, which I cannot stand, then this is not where I belong, and there's another job out there for me where I'll be a better fit. I didn't believe in the scarcity mentality that was it, this is it, the only job I have. I believed there were other jobs and other opportunities available to me. And equally, my boss also had an abundance mentality. Because if he had a scarcity mentality, he would continue wanting to micromanage me. And if he couldn't micromanage me, he'd want to replace me with somebody who could. But he also had an abundance mentality. And when I put this situation in front of him and put him in a situation where he could really take a look at what's been going on, he realized himself what was happening. And he saw that he was making changes for how he thought it should be done, but not necessarily the only way to do it. And so, after I said that to him, he simply said, you know, you're right. And he walked out of the room. Now, I'll be honest with you. At that point in time, I didn't know if he was going to fire me or not. But the fact was, he didn't. He had an abundance mentality. He simply realized this was not a good idea. It wasn't productive. We were wasting each other's time, and he'd be better spent doing other things with that time. And he let me do my job. And we had a phenomenal working relationship, and I really enjoyed working with him. So much so that when he called me a couple years later, another job opportunity, I eagerly went to work for him. Had no problem with that whatsoever because I enjoyed working for him. An abundance mentality gives you so much more freedom. People with a scarcity mentality who believe there's not enough to go around are always frustrated. They feel pressure all the time because they don't believe there's enough, and if they don't get theirs, they're going to be out of luck. When that's not the way it is. There's enough for everybody to go around. When you have an abundance mentality, there's less pressure, there's less frustration, because you know you can always make the pie bigger. How? By becoming better at what you do, by improving your skills, by increasing your knowledge, by changing your mindset. You can improve what you do, and in so create more abundance for yourself. We all dislike micromanagers. Managers who don't want to give you the power to make decisions, who don't want to teach you what they know, because they're afraid that if you know too much, if you grow too strong, that you're going to look better than they do, and that they're going to get fired and you're going to replace them. That's the mentality of a micromanager. They're afraid. That's because they come from a scarcity mentality. If you work for a micromanager, if you are a micromanager, you're coming from a world of scarcity. You don't recognize the fact that if you're able to help mold and create these amazing employees, it's not going to be they're going to replace you. It's probably going to be they are going to get so big that they're going to push you further up the ladder. It's going to be recognized the power you have to help create these phenomenal employees. You'll not get fired, you'll get promoted. And I've seen that done time and time again with people I've worked with and with myself as well. Micromanaging is a sign of a scarcity mentality and a lack of confidence. But with an abundance mentality, you help your people become the very best they can be. You empower them to make decisions. And if they make mistakes, you get together, you talk about it, figure out what went wrong, how do we not let that happen again, and move forward, allowing everybody to grow. And as they grow, you grow. And as they start pushing up towards your position, they're going to push you up to the next one. So if you find yourself having a tendency to micromanage, think about that. Now, if you work for a micromanager, it's up to you to decide whether you want to stay in that situation, because it's never a fun one, or if maybe it's time for you to find other opportunities. Because if you have an abundance mentality, you'll know that not every situation is the right fit. Maybe this one isn't, and it's time to look for another one. Now, if you feel that maybe you have a scarcity mentality, but you'd like to have an abundance mentality, to believe that there's always more available to you if you're willing to do the work necessary to get it. What can you do to make that change? A couple things that you can do that are going to help substantially. Number one, stop comparing yourself to other people. Where you end up in your life is not a factor of other people. It's a factor of you. You will go in your life and you will become whatever you focus on most and whatever actions you take in your life. Where you are is based on what you focus on and the actions you choose to take. And if your focus is on becoming better, becoming the very best that you can be, then that's exactly who you will become. And opportunities will be presented to you. But if you're constantly comparing yourself to everybody else, it's never going to be a win situation. Because there's always going to be people who are better than you. And there always will be people who are not as good. And the harder you work on you, the fewer people will be better than you, and the more you'll shine. So stop comparing yourself to other people and work on you. And second, create a gratitude journal. One of the things about a scarcity mentality is not only being afraid there's not enough to go around, but you're not really grateful for what you have. The more grateful you are for what you possess, the things you have, the opportunities you've seen, the things in your life that have helped make you who you are in a positive way, the more you're grateful for that, for the friends and family and opportunities you've had, the more of those opportunities will come your way. Gratitude is a very, very powerful tool. And there's more and more and more research on that. So create a gratitude journal. Every day, write in that journal, what are you grateful for? And the more grateful you are for the things you have in your life, the more of those things you're going to receive. So again, create that gratitude journal and stop comparing yourself to everybody else. Just focus on you. Focus on where you want to be and take the actions that are going to help you get there. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, like every week, we got a lot more coming down the pipe. So I hope you have a fantastic week, and I'm going to talk to you next Monday.